Okay, so the bouncing ball. Every animation school you go to will start off with the bouncing ball. Okay, if you look at any basic introductory animation tutorials anywhere, then the bouncing ball will always have a place in there because it teaches you the fundamental principles of animation. Okay, it'll teach you timing and spacing and squash and stretch and really make you understand the core aspects of animation. So let's get started. We have our ball. We want to have him on the ground here, so we'll set a key. Hit S to set a key. Let's move forward 10 frames. Make sure auto key is on. Drag him up into the air. Move forwards another 10 frames, and we're going to put him back on the ground. So to do that, we know that on the first frame everything's zeroed out. So on this frame here, 20, we're just going to zero out that number on the side here. Okay, let's go back to the start. We have him up and we have him down. Okay, so I'm just going to change this to 20, so all we can see is the 20 frames, and let's watch that back. Okay, we have a bouncing ball, but we really want it to look a little bit better than that. So we're going to drag. It's going to go over to second frame now. So first frame, second frame, and we're going to start this guy bouncing up into the air. So we're going to. This is where timing and spacing comes in. So I'm going to drag this guy up a bit, just like that. So I'm going to go to the front view, and again to that, space, left mouse button, and drag down. So we can't really see the ground plane from here. So there we go. We'll do that so you can see where the ground is. So all I do is click on this one, and it just shows you the wireframe. Okay. So now we have it starting to go up. Let's play that through. Good. So the next step, we're going to come close to this one here. We're going to put another one. So let's go to 9. Set another keyframe. So how high is this? This is 20. Let's round this out. We'll go 29. No, you know, we'll go 30. Make it a nice round number. So let's go to this one, and we'll drag him up somewhere close to that. Let's go, yeah, we'll go 27. No, we'll go 28. The numbers are irrelevant, really. Okay, then we're going to come to the other side. Going to set another keyframe. We'll go 28 again. So now we have the ball coming up, and then the ball's going to come back down. So let's see what this guy is. Just change this guy to 5. Change this guy to 5. If you work with round numbers just to start off with, it'll be a lot easier for copying and pasting and stuff like that. So let's go to this last one here, hit 5. So now let's go back to the start and we'll watch it through. It's getting there, it's almost done. So now we're going to come in between here somewhere. So on number 5, and we're just going to drag it up like that. So that's just, if I hit this button here, it's going to step forward to the next keyframe. So it's going to skip all these frames and just go to that next keyframe. And what I'm looking for now is the spacing between this ball and this ball there. Okay, so there's a gap in between there, and I'm just trying to look for, and you can see that the gap is a lot bigger between this frame before it and the frame after it. So I'm just going to drag it down a bit more, try and center it out a bit. Now of course you could use maths here and calculate the difference between 5 and 28, but that's no fun. 16 we'll say. Then we're going to come through here and we'll do 16 in here. Okay, so let's go back to the start. Now we'll watch it. There we go, we have a bouncing ball. Let's go back to perspective. Let's take another look at it. Pretty simple, but again, it's really blocky. And that's what we want at the minute, because we really want to be able to see these key poses. So spacing is the gap between the two drawings, if you will. So imagine this is a drawing, if we're talking traditional animation, and this is a drawing. The space between those two drawings, in the middle where there's nothing going on, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about spacing. Okay? So spacing is important because it shows how fast things are moving through space. Okay? Timing is what's going on down here in the timeline. So you can see here I've got 2 close together, then 1 spaced out, then 3 close together, then 1 spaced out. So what's happening here is it's going slow to start off, it's going quick, then it's going slow, then quick, and then slow. So it's slow at the bottom, fast in between, slow at the top, fast in between, slow at the bottom. Okay? And that's what we want for our bouncing ball. So just watch it one more time. Okay, so now we're going to go through, we're going to put some more life into this ball. So when the ball's on the ground here, it's going to be squashed. So when the ball impacts the ground, we want to squash it down a bit. So let's go to our scale tool, squash him down. So when we squash down like this, we also need to drag it out in the other directions. So let's do 0.5 here, because it's going to keep its volume. And you could do, you know, exact numbers if you want, but it's, again, it's not really relevant. So let's probably take that down to 0.25. Looks a bit too big, I think. Let's go to this next frame. Now on this next frame, the ball's starting to shoot up into the air. So let's put these all back at 1. What's going to happen is, as it takes off, it's going to stretch this way. Now you can see already that looks like it's springing up into the air. And of course, because we did it stretching up, we'll just do it here. And again, I'm just using random numbers now, but you just want to keep the same volume that you have originally in the ball. Okay, doesn't want to get any smaller or bigger, just squashing it and stretching it. So then when we get to this middle frame here, the ball's got its shape back. So let's put all these back at 1. Okay, so now we have this shoot up, it's back to its normal size. Now when it gets to the top here, it's going to start to stretch a little bit when it comes down. So let's go to this one. Let's do what we did before. So comes up, starts to stretch. Let's go back to our front view. Now when it stretches here, it shouldn't get any higher. So this is the height of it. It's starting to stretch on the way down. So I'm just going to have to move this guy down a bit. There we go. Maybe even a little bit more. And here, again, it's halfway down, so let's put him back to normal. Let's watch this through so far. You know what might look even better is if we keep this stretch position here. So let's keep this stretch position in the middle here. And we'll keep it on this one too. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy some frames now, because we want this first frame and this last frame to be the same. So what we could do is we could go in here and copy these numbers and then go over here and then paste them into here. Easier way of doing it is if I'm on frame 1, I'm middle mouse button click, hold it in, drag it over to the frame I want to put it on, let go, and then hit the S key. So the reason that didn't work is because I had this scale highlighted. So let's try that again. Middle mouse button click, drag it across, hit the S key, set. So now that frame is the same. So again, we want to do it with this one, frame number 2. Middle mouse button click, drag it across, set. Hit S to set the key. And then let's do it for this middle one as well. Middle mouse button, drag it across, hit S. Now let's look what we've got. We're getting there. So let's have a look. It goes up, regains its shape, comes down, and squashes. And then of course it'll go up again. But let's copy this one over to the other side here, see what that looks like. Of course, make sure this middle one is still set to normal. There we go. Let's watch it through. It's going pretty quick, so it's really hard for us to see. But that's alright. Now the good thing about this is we can step through these keyframes and get a nice visualization of what's going on. And this is why, now you can see there, it's blocking out really nicely. And again, if you're having trouble seeing it, we've probably done it a bit short here. So you could go into your preferences and put it on it's on play every frame. So let's take it to real time, and let's just look at that. It's a bit better. Now you can really kind of see the timing that we're getting here. It's quick. It's really going quick in between, so it's slow here, quick in between, slow at the top, quick in between, slow at the bottom. So again, spacing is what's going on the screen. The spacing between your drawings, and timing is what's going on in the timeline here. So when it's hit the ground, it's squashing, and then it's shooting back up in the air and stretching. And then as it reaches the highest point is going to regain its shape and then stretch back down and squash when it hits the ground. Okay, so that's pretty simple, pretty easy to do. Now we're going to get into the more technical side as far as the 3D program goes. We're going to go up to Windows, Animation Editors, and we're going to click on the Graph Editor. And this is what comes up here. So you can see we've got these weird lines going on here. Let's hit F to frame them. Now this is telling us what is happening with our ball. Let's bring him over so we can see him. So you can see here we have the same attributes, translate X, Y and Z and rotate, that we have over here for the sphere. Okay? And you can see if I click on them, it changes. You can see we don't have anything on the translate X or the translate Z, so this is a completely flat line. Okay? On the translate Y, however, you can see the representation here, up and down, is the representation of it translating through the space. So we've got 0 translation here, and then on this one here, we have, if I scoot back here, you can see the translation has changed to a 5. Let me get that value up here. And we go across to the next one. And we've got 16 here. See, if I select it, you can see the different values changing up here. Okay, and it would be the same if we were translating in Z. For example, if I was to move this like this, you can see it would translate it there. Okay? So the only thing we really need to worry about now is the scale and the translate Y. So for now I'm just going to select translate X, hold down Control, select translate Z, and select the rotates, and then I'm going to drag select over all of those keyframes and delete them. Hit the delete key. So now we just have the ones that we keyed. So if we select all of those and you hit F to frame them if you're not here. So I should mention, moving around in this window is the same as moving around in Maya, except you cannot rotate. Okay? So you can see how blocky our animation is, and you can see how that corresponds to these curves or these lines here. So we want to smooth this out. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all of these guys. We're going to come up here, and there's a whole bunch of options here. So first one we have is auto tangent, spline, clamped, and linear. Okay, because at the minute we have flat tangents and step tangents, which is the same as in our preferences here, flat and stepped. Okay, so I'm just going to click on auto tangent, and that's going to put some curves. Put some curves on these lines here. Okay, so let's just look at that rotate. Sorry, not rotate, that translate Y. And what that's done, if you look over here and watch our bouncing ball, so hit play, it smoothed it out for us. But again, it's not perfect. And that's the other thing. So the more information you give the computer, the better of a job it's going to do to figure out what you want it to do. So the first thing that we might do is we might take these keyframes here that are right next to it, and we might just push them across one frame. So if I drag select over that keyframe in the graph editor here, make sure I'm on the move tool over here, hold down the shift key, So the shift key will constrain it to whichever direction I drag in. So hold down the shift key, middle mouse button, and drag to the side one frame. Okay, and then I'm going to do the other one, except I want to drag it the opposite direction. And probably let's take these two as well. And now let's have a look at what it's got. That's a bit better for us, isn't it? Okay, now you can see that this line isn't particularly neat. So what we're going to do is, if we select all of these guys, we can change it. We try and put it on a spline or a clamped or linear, but it doesn't really help us much at all. So let's just go back to auto. So let's try and play with these guys ourselves. So if you select it, you can see you get two little tangent handles. Okay, if you select one of those, middle mouse drag, and that will adjust the curve. Okay, so let's play it again. It's good. Let's just minimize this guy. Let's go to our front view and let's just watch it through. So it's sort of giving us what we want, but not quite. So what I'm going to do, just to help you understand the graph editor, is I'm going to take all of these frames in between. So the only frames we'll have left are the bottom frame and the top frame, and I'm just going to delete those in between frames. Now you can see the representation we have of the curve here. Now what we will need to do, let's just delete our scale frames for the minute. We won't worry about those. And again, if I bring this guy in view so you can see him, he's bouncing. So what we want to do is drag this guy up like this, and drag this guy up. So remember what we wanted was we want it to be really slow at the top there. There we go. So it looks like I've still got some keyframes here. So I'm just going to delete these guys. Okay. Alright. So that's probably a bit too flat at the top. So I'm just going to bring it down just a little bit. Let's play it through again. Alright. So now let's change the scale on this guy again. So remember, when he's at the bottom here, we want to have him squashed. So let's go there we go, there he is, nice and squashed. And when he's at the top here, so what we better do is we better key these again. So I'm going to select them, key selected, there we go. So when he's at the top here, we want him stretched out. Well, no, actually we don't. When he's at the top here, what we want is we want him to be normal, regain his shape completely. And then we want to copy this frame, set it here, okay. Alright, so now we need to add these points in, these stretchy points. So let's come here, let's stretch this guy out, so let's go 1.5. So you can see we're sort of getting what we want here, except he's lifting up, and when he's lifting up, he's flat still, he's squashed still. So let's go to this frame. So we've got this stretch frame here now, which is good. He regains his shape up there and drops back down. So let's bring our graph editor back up. Let's select everything. So we still have our default in and out tangents on stepped. So we're going to have to come back in here, select these guys, click on auto again. Let's deselect the Y because we've already done that, and we'll just auto tangent the rest of these. And what we can do now, if we don't want to have to come back and do this every time, is we can change the preferences here, put them on auto. But for now, I don't mind too much. There we go. So you can see already it's starting to regain its shape, and then it's stretching up. And again, now it's regaining its shape. And you can see though, we don't have that going into that stretch position after this. It's just squashing straight away. So let's take this one, middle mouse drag it over, hit S, and again now let's go through. It stretches up, regains its shape, stretches down. And of course again we're going to have to one of those is stepped, so that'll be the scale here somewhere, I believe. Yep, so let's auto tangent that. So up, and then again as we come down here, stretches. Okay, it looks like it might be translate Y as well, might be a bit stepped. Yep, on the end here. So let's auto tangent this guy. Now you can see that's messed up our curve. We want this line here happening. So I'm going to select this guy, I'm going to drag him up to where we want it. Now what's happening with this guy? Do we want to take this guy up to here? Or do we want to take this guy out to here? It's a little bit confusing for us, isn't it? We don't know quite what to do. So let's look at how it translates onto our actual 3D object. It goes up, regains its shape, and then see how it's dropping really quick. And we want it to stay at the top here, don't we? So let's take this guy and let's translate him up, and see that's moving him in translate Y. And if we take that up so the curve is pretty much where we want it, now let's watch it here. Goes up, regains his shape, starts to stretch, but he's not moving down at all. So we're going to have to take this guy down a little bit and then across a little bit. There we go. And you can see we've got that nice arc now that we have on this other side. Okay, and let's watch it through the space. And again, it's still kind of stretching before it's moving down. So let's move it across, and then let's move it down again. Something like that, I think. Comes up, starts to stretch straight away. So to stop that, fix that stretching, what we're going to have to do is take our scale lines. Let's zoom in on it. And let's just do scale Y. Where are we? Scale Y to start off with. Now you can see there it's a really quick woof transition. So what we might want to do is take this guy and maybe we'll drag him down a bit. But we don't really want to scale him down, do we? We want to move him across in space. So let's drag him, move him across. So now let's see what's happening. We're coming up. There we go. You see it's scaling, but it looks like it's traveling down. Okay, now again here, he's kind of losing that scale at the end there. So grab this guy. It's holding it a bit longer, but I think we're going to need to put a keyframe in here so that it knows that it's still got that scale towards the end here. So where do we want it? Let's take this scale keyframe here. And we're going to drag it across. And we're just going to key the selected. And again, let's just select that and auto tangent it. Fix that line up. So let's watch this through now. There we go, we're getting a lot more feel into our bounce now. If we go back to our translate Y, let's focus on it. What we can probably do now that we've got that scale sorted out is we can probably get rid of this keyframe in here. We probably don't need that because the arc is following fine, so let's delete that. Now let's play our animation through. There we go. What I might do just for aesthetics is I might come to this keyframe here, just push it a little bit higher. There we go. And there we have a nice basic bouncing ball. So what I might do is I might want this guy to regain his shape as he's hitting the ground. So I might take this frame here. Let's put this back to that. Let's put this to 0. There we go. In which case we might want to go to this frame here and drop this guy down to 0 as well. So we have ours like that. Of course we're going to need to select these guys, auto tangent them, and we still want that nice curve here. So let's now here comes an issue that we're going to get. You can see as I'm moving this one, because these tangents are attached to each other, it's moving. I want to move this curve. I want to get this nice arc that we had before. Like that. But what I don't want is I don't want this overshoot down here, because what that's doing it's well, it's pushing that down a little bit further than what I wanted. So what I can do is if I select this guy, I can come up here and click break tangents. Then I can select this guy and straighten him out. And then we're still getting that nice arc. So let's do it again. Let's select this guy, break him. Just like that. And if I come up and just hit flat, that'll flatten that out for me. Alright. So let's watch this bouncing ball now. And that is spot on what we wanted. So let's perspective view it. Let's turn this off so that we can see properly. And we have our bouncing ball.